Hi, welcome back. Have I got a weird one for you today? This is one of those strange research, weird tunnels that you get into with tarot and other stuff that isn't even related but just reminds you of something, and then the next thing comes along, and then it's never ending almost. I want to talk today about several stuff regarding a few of the cards in the Crow's Magic Tarot, which is an out-of-print, very strange tarot deck that I've been looking for a long time, and I recently found it, which I'm very grateful for. And as you can probably see by the box alone, it's really weird artwork. I want to talk about the cards in this deck that includes humans, or actually human parts, I should say, because not all of them, most of the humans in this deck have animal heads or are, depicted either way in a very strange manner. I will show you. It's an animal-based deck, and I've warned you, the cards are very strange. I'm actually talking about these 4 cards. So you can see there's a bear with abs, with for the 6 of Wands. There's the pointy butt cheeks for this, what is that, 4 of Swords? 5 of Swords. Then there's the Lovers, which is where I noticed something that I'm going to talk about in a second for the first time. And then Justice, which has that head of a crow. So first of all, there are 2 more cards with humans on them. I feel that the Hangman kind of falls into this category, but is a little bit different, but the Chariot for sure is different. So what I'm talking about is the fact that each of these, the way that the human body is standing is the anatomically neutral stance. As you may know, I'm a dancer. Actually, at the moment, I'm a dance teacher. I used to dance professionally. And I did ballet schooling, like real ballet academy, and then after that, when I turned almost 18, when I was 17, but I turned 18 in that first year, I started my bachelor's degree for contemporary dance. So looking at this deck brought me back to that and to those anatomy classes that I got. We were talking about, of course, the muscles and the tendons, and then the bones also, the structure of the skeleton. So what am I talking about with, well, let's look at the Lovers. We can see that they are standing up straight, but the palms of the hands are faced forward. And I will explain to you why that is. It's like this. You can do it with me if you want. Stand in a neutral stance, which means that, the best way for your skeleton to stand either way is to have your feet 1 foot width apart from each other, so that actually that means usually that it's right, the feet are right underneath your hip bones. Yeah, so if it's too wide, it's not good, and if it's too close together, as in feet completely close together, it's not good either, because then this happens. Like if you want to do everything in a straight line, it's normally 1 foot width apart from each other, pretty much, yeah? Then stand up straight, thinking of that really straight line starting from this top of your head, not the middle part of your head, because that makes you go a little bit like that, but a little bit to the back. As in right on top of your spine. That spine is being pulled up by a rope attached to the ceiling, for instance. And we're not trying to use the muscles to stand up straight. No, we are actually just dangling, letting gravity do the work. This is like the ultimate support, right? That your skeleton is giving your muscles. And so there's another thing that, well, more things that we need to think of, because this is really the way that a child stands. It's afterwards, later in life, when we are sitting in the school benches for way too long, where we get these bad habits of sitting like this, or maybe like crouching down if you're tall, talking to people, or being shy, or, you know, I don't know, like maybe what I have is I think I stand up pretty straight normally. I'm not very tall. I'm 1.66 meters, but I do have my shoulders falling forward. And so, especially in ballet, but actually also in contemporary dance, really, to have that openness without forcing, it's all about just realigning the shoulders in a very soft but, you know, directing way. And so you can see that my hands are naturally falling, whether I stand like this with the shoulders to the front or like this with the shoulders open where they should be, right in their joints. You can see that the palms of my hands are closed towards me, but actually the anatomically neutral position for when you look at the skeleton, for the bones, is like this, with the thumbs facing outwards, with the palms facing outwards, the world, the palms facing forwards, just like these 4 cards. You can see they all have the thumbs to the outside, palms facing forwards. And it just got me thinking, because it brought me back to my studies. I will show you. Think of the bones, right? So I had to look this up because of course I didn't remember. This bone in the line of the thumb is called the radius, which in itself is already pretty, you could add symbolic meaning to that, right? Because I looked up the origin of radius. Of course, the origin of the word is Latin, and it means staff or stake or rod. So my first initial reaction was, are we talking about wands here? That's so cool. This is like your wand, like your witch finger kind of thing, you know, the extension of that or something like that. But yeah, that's just my imagination running wild. But then it's also the same word as spoke of a wheel. And then there's also that ray of light and the beam of light. So that is radius going towards radiant, right? That's what I think. And then there's also, but that hasn't been, I mean, it's not very certain. There's also that idea that we're talking about the radius of a circle. This origin is not known. Perhaps radix, or however you're supposed to say that, but it comes from root, and then I'm thinking, well, radius would be radis or radish or radijs, so that is actually a root. But yeah, that theory, that's kind of flawed, and I didn't really look into it. But the radius is also pretty cool, isn't it? You could make something out of it if you're about that. Maybe this part of the body could, in that sense, just looking at the words that we're using here, be talking about measuring something, feeling something, trying to get information from outside, just like the radio is sending out these, well, really these messages. And I don't know, it could be like this sensory thing, like a sensor, like the radius, I don't know. I mean, it took me a little bit far, and I know it's crazy, but let's talk about the bones again in the skeleton. But interesting nonetheless. I don't know, I'm a nerd. Okay. So, standing like this is the relaxed position, but then standing like this is the way that a skeleton is neutral. These 2 bones are in alignment, are like this, next to one another. And you could say that it opens and makes everything fall into a straight line again, next to each other. Because like this, the bones are crossed, and that means that they are closed. That means that you cannot see the entirety of the bone, because one of them is crossing the other one. Whereas you do this, and there you go, you can see all of them. You know, we have one here, the radius one here, the ulna. This way you can see the entirety of both bones in the skeleton. In the legs, we don't have that problem because we have the tibia right here and the fibula right there, and they don't cross. And unless if we're standing like, you know, we're doing weird stuff with our legs, but usually we have our feet parallel to each other, so that makes, you can see the entirety of the bones and they're in alignment. And the full alignment, as I explained earlier, comes from that tip of the head and standing straight. Yeah, and this is also the way that they put a body on an autopsy table, facing up. Then the palms are also facing up. And facing up, I learned that as well, but for different reasons, is called the supine position. I'm not sure at all if I say that correctly, if I pronounce that correctly. But and then if for some reason the body is placed facing down, so with the belly towards the table, with the belly on the table, then the palms are turned this way, and it's called the prone position. So like if for any reason the body is placed with the torso facing down, it's called the prone position. So we have supine and we have prone. And the way that we learn that is, imagine these are someone's feet. And you know how some people stand. Some people stand completely neutral. They use the outside of their feet as well as much as the inside of their feet. They're in perfect balance. But then there are people, like a lot of ballet dancers, for instance, at the beginning, young ballet dancers, they stand like this. They stand a little bit more on the inside of the soles of their feet. This is called pronation, and then standing on the outside of your feet is called supination. And we were always laughing about that because the way that we remember that is that this movement, which is the supination, really is reminiscent of eating soup with a spoon. So it's the supination, and then the other one would be this, so pronation. And I just think it's interesting because the pronation means going inwards, means closing, going inwards, but then the supination means going outwards on the outside of the soles of your feet, going outwards with your thumbs, going outwards like this to the neutral position, and then being open and outwards. And since being open is a thing right now with me and my practice, I'm focusing on that a little bit more. This struck me as important, or at least, interesting to talk about a little bit, that this is in tarot decks, that you can find that in tarot decks. Now, these are my own weird thoughts and weird ideas and weird correspondences, but there is a larger book for the Crow's Magic Tarot, and I don't have it. And maybe that stuff is in there. I have no idea at all. But it really did strike me that these human figures are all standing like that, open to give and receive at the same time, because that is what this gesture really is saying, doesn't it? And it also feels like opening the palms of the hand, which is the inside of the hand. It's the soles of the feet. It's like it is opening towards the world, and it's just like saying, I am here and I have this to offer, and then whatever comes my way, I'm ready for that, or at least I'm open to it. Now, I can see that the Hanged Man, for instance, is just, I guess, doing that but less actively. Yeah, it's just with receiving palms, I guess. But then the Chariot, which is a very strange card for a Chariot, does not have that at all. He's stubborn, I guess. I don't know, or it's like this super young force that's kind of like tough, and yeah, it's a different kind of strength, I guess. To sum up, when we're standing like this, the bones in our forearms are crossed, and when we open the palms, the thumbs away from the body, arms a little bit away from the body, it's like, look at us, here we are. We are no longer crossed, meaning open, meaning we can give and receive, and this should really be our default position. It's kind of saying we're open for anything, really. And I think that that is either way a good thing. Even, I mean, that's, I guess, the conclusion that I got out of this. I'm actually showing you all of this to explain my train of thought, but it doesn't mean that I'm asking everyone to do this, to check this stuff, you know. It's just about following my train of thought. Like, whenever I see these cards, not only in this deck, but in other tarot decks, I mean, I'm not in my own place right now, but look for those cards. Look for the people who are standing like this. What does it mean? You know, whenever we come across those cards, people standing in this position, think of the skeleton and how it's supposed to be, or how the neutral position truly is, that we actually have to make an effort to open up, to open our insides, the palms, to show us who we are, to show our lifelines, to show the wear on our fingers, to show what we're made out of, to show what we do with our lives, to show what we can give, and, you know, to show how we use our time, really, what we are doing with our time and energy. Yeah, all of that. And then it's really about embracing this change, because we are open for everything. That is what it means, isn't it? Whatever changes come our way, that is what life is. If you think of yourself standing like this, it's kind of like, I am here and I can give you what I have, and I will receive what comes my way. You know, it's just that very neutral, even in that sense, in the sense of your attitude towards life. Very neutral attitude towards life, because it is open. I think openness means neutral, and neutral means open. It's really our attitude towards life, because a big part of life means change. And thinking of yourself sometimes when you're feeling stuck, perhaps, or when a reading isn't going well for yourself, I don't know. It's just, think of that, those palms, and what they mean, and what it means to go through life open and not relaxed, but released from tension. These palms are open, and it's kind of like you're saying you're ready to feel. Yeah, I don't know, isn't that a good one? I warned you beforehand that this was a strange one, going in a very strange direction, but this is what I came up with. Yeah, those are the weird thoughts that I have every so often. And first of all, you know, with the hangman, he's really just in that position of cannot do anything about his own situation, and so it's just about waiting for the right time, or waiting for something to happen from the outside. This is all about that young force, I feel, so not included in this. The justice is, of course, about honesty, and therefore also openness. The Five of Swords. The Five of Swords definitely does, especially this card in this way, bring that energy of coming from the Four of Swords, and the Four is just so stable, and then the Five is a breakthrough, and it's not always fun, but it's the typical five number, you know, it's the typical thing where you just think it needs to happen, and so might as well show everyone what I mean when I say something, or actually say what I think, and communicate it out, and have my own ideas, and really just step out into the world as my own person, or at least closer towards it. And that's also about not being afraid of what might happen if you do that, not being afraid of losing that stability, because you can just be sure that the stability will be lost. But you know what? At this point, that stability is not what you need any longer. If this is what you need, then please make your voice heard. It's necessary. And that results to at least the first steps towards a more honest, open life. Six of Wands. I've seen this card twice now within, I don't know, 3 days. This is so, It's like he's coming through a door, and it's like saying, don't you dare be afraid of your own success. And it's the great balance between doing something because you're truly passionate about it, but wanting to share it with others, like stop keeping it a secret, or doing something because you want that recognition, or because you want the fame, or because you want the attention. That's not the same thing as doing something because the core is very pure. It's very centered, like the 6. It's very balanced, like the 6. And then actually doing something a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more out of your own comfort zone with it. Like sharing it, doing something more with it than just keeping it for yourself. It's a little bit about overcoming that fear of success and fear of pride. There is pride that is unhelpful and toxic even, or stupid. But there's also pride that is pure and real, and it's just about respect and acknowledgement that you give to yourself, that you've actually done something good. Sharing a little bit too much of my own life here. Okay, here we have the Lovers, and I just really love that because this card is pure balance. And this is where, as I said, this is where I noticed this, I keep calling it anatomically neutral, but it's really the standard anatomical position for the skeleton. This is where I first noticed these figures standing like that in this deck. And it's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, I know it's weird artwork, very strange deck, but it's my crow deck. It's the deck that I needed for that crow energy. And I've been seeing crows every day. I've been seeing crows all over now. So I guess it's also crow season. Is that a thing? But anyway, those are my very strange and definitely rambly thoughts about this subject. But isn't it cool when this type of stuff, which we've learned years ago, didn't think we would ever really need anymore, and then it comes back in a form just like this, where everything that's the thing, everything I learned ever, I'm trying to find the symbolic meaning of it. That's what tarot readers do, I guess, just to like spiritualize science, really, anatomy. I've talked about this in another video where I think that science and spirituality is not different from each other, or shouldn't be apart from each other, shouldn't be seen as separate. It's really quite close, and I love it when scientists talk about that and see the power in that. But it's just such a silly, very normal thing that I've learned years ago during my dance schooling that just came up again in this very unexpected way, and then being able to look for that meaning. Like, I'm sure most of you will agree that, isn't it cool that when we stand in a relaxed position, some bones in our arms, the parts of our body that we use so often and with our hands are crossed and closed. We need to open up. We need to open our hands, and I just made this whole story about it. But I do feel that it's good, and it's, I guess, a message that I needed right now, and maybe someone else watching as well. So I really just wanted to incorporate all of that into one little video and share it with you. And yeah, just that was it. I really do enjoy comments so that we can just continue the conversation, because after all, I'm just talking to myself here. It's nice to hear your thoughts about this spiky butt. Isn't it a good card though? I love the colors. It's like, ready for the world, these are my wings. But now do the right thing. Okay, that's it. See you later.